This is the concierge, sir.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Concierge Confidential. I'm your host, Brian Ortega, and in today's episode, I think it's time to have a little bit of a refresher on casino etiquette. So this is for those of you that have maybe come to Vegas a couple times, maybe never been here, but I think we need to kind of explain sort of like why there's a method to a lot of the madness here, why we do certain things, and a couple of things to make it look like you know what you're doing, at least for the first 5 minutes for your trip in Las Vegas. So also some observations over the weekend. I did go to Nowhere Lounge, which is located at the Fontainebleau, after a Mark Anthony concert, and I had some very funny observations that I did want to share with you guys. So we're going to be doing that coming up next. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into it right off the bat. So a couple of observations over the weekend. So I ended up going to the Fontainebleau when I was not working, and I actually tried Washing Potato, which Washing Potato is open for lunch and dinner, and they do primarily Asian cuisine. And I've been wanting to try that restaurant for quite a long time, just because from where I work, we do get a lot of Far East guests that order from Washing Potato quite often. Sometimes just because they're open, but they do have a very specific cuisine that they do serve and offer, and lots of things in the menu. So ended up going and trying it out. I also tried to go to Mother Wolf first, but it was like around 8:30, 9 o'clock, which is when it is like pretty much the busiest. So couldn't find a seat at the bar because it was busy. So I walked over to Washing Potato. Washing Potato, kind of a fun little spot. It's good for fun groups. It's kind of an interesting sort of, you're on a stage is kind of the way that it's set up. And I ended up they had a lot of things that were very similar to each other. So they have like Mongolian beef and then black pepper steak. The biggest difference is one is spicy and one is not. So I got the Mongolian beef. I also got their pork on the menu, which they basically have two types of pork. They have like a crispy pork, which is like a basically crispy pork belly. And then they have a different type of pork, which is going to be more like succulent, which was very good. I ended up getting that one. I got white rice, obviously. And I actually loved it. I had a really good time eating there because I thought the food was very, very familiar, but like really well done. Lots of really good flavors in it. It was very spicy. The Mongolian beef, the actual pork itself was really succulent and delicious. Very, very juicy, and it came in a really nice sauce. I think it's actually great for two people. I would say I ended up getting not two entrees, but essentially that's what they were. And you can share those amongst two people. Like one dish is shareable amongst two people. Highly recommend doing that just because then you're going to get the most bang for your buck. I ended up just getting a Coke there. Didn't end up getting any signature cocktails because I was going to be drinking later. But Washing Potato, highly recommend. I think the price ended up coming out for all that stuff. It was like $70. But really, really delicious. I think it would be a great spot if you wanted to go for lunchtime, if you're at Fontainebleau, as well as more of... It could feel like sort of like a cool up, like modern sort of dinner, or it could be just like a casual dinner. You wanted to get something before you went up to bed or before, you got into the casino. It was a little bit hidden. You do have to go into Fontainebleau quite a bit to actually find Washing Potato. It's right next to China Club, which they kind of cook out of the same kitchen, which is kind of funny. Yeah, sometimes when China Club is closed, we will get stuff from Washing Potato that is very similar. So kind of works out that way if you're a high roller. So we ended up going to Washing Potato, and then from there, I was split because I wanted to go try the Collins Bar, which I've done that before. But I was like, let me go try Nowhere, because Nowhere is on the second floor of Fontainebleau, kind of hidden. It's right next to the guest elevators. So it's hidden to like normal people, but for those of you that are staying there, you're able to see it right when you come out of your guest elevators. But the Nowhere Lounge was set up for the Mark Anthony like sort of after party event, but it wasn't busy yet because the concert was still going on. So I got there a little bit early. I got there about 10 o'clock and kind of looked at what they had available, and I ended up getting an old fashioned, which that's always kind of my MO. The reason I always get an old fashioned, this is good for anybody who's trying to like figure out if you're a big cocktail person, if you're trying to figure out, what's this bartender working with, like kind of like little test. So I ended up getting a Maker's Old Fashioned and made it phenomenal. Again, I've said this over and over and over again. I think Fontainebleau across the board has the best bartenders and bars where you can get consistently the classic cocktails made the way you want and made the correct way. Other places, Bellagio, Wynn, a little hit or miss. The Wynn really like into dried fruit, which I hate it. Because there's a director, there's a beverage director for the Wynn. Every hotel has one. And she gets a lot of publicity because she comes up with lots of like crazy cocktails and cool stuff. I hate that every single bar does, unless you're Delilah, does dried fruit in the main casino bars. I honestly hate dried fruit. And it really just knocks everything off for me. So anyways, back to Nowhere. So the Nowhere Lounge made the cocktail. Absolutely phenomenal, old-fashioned, delicious. So they didn't have any chairs. So this is important for those of you to know if you're going to Nowhere Lounge, which those of you who are adamant or come to Vegas quite often, you would know that Nowhere Lounge is a jazz bar, but also like more like live music centric. Very, very popular. And it's a great place to go kind of like as a group because they have lots of like chairs and group seating. A lot of the times it's reserved if it's going to be a big band. But I've been there when there were chairs. I don't really think they put chairs out anymore, especially on those like crazy nights. So maybe like on a Wednesday you'll get a chair. So walked up to the bar, kind of like found my spot at the bar, kind of went around the corner, got a good view of the stage that they got, and had my old fashioned. Also, it's always hit or miss. I mean, I ended up going, and the next drink that I got was a Godfather. Godfather is a great cocktail for those of you whiskey drinkers out there that you're like kind of looking for a different cocktail that isn't an old-fashioned and you're not like a Manhattan guy. I don't like Manhattans. I don't like vermouth, which is a problem for, I don't like Negronis. I don't like old-fashioned Manhattans. So it's a cross I have to bear. It's very, very sad. So I found out about the Godfather, which is equal parts Di Serrano Amaretto, as well as Scotch. But I don't like Black Label, so I said anything but Black Label. They put Monkey Shoulder in there. Never really knew how I felt about Monkey Shoulder, but I think I've had it like maybe once before. But it was quite delicious. It's on the label says it has like this vanilla and caramel sort of flavor to it, and quite smooth. Very, very nice for a Scotch, which Scotch are not always smooth. So anyways, got the Godfather, really delicious. And as I'm kind of sitting there, like you're getting these people walking up to the bar. And I'm sorry to single out one particular gender here, but ladies, we got to get it together. We got to figure our shit out. Because if there's no menu at the bar, which this bar did not have a menu because of the special event, you got to be able to think on your feet. You got to have a couple cocktails in the barrel. I did see one guy who was also asking the same questions, but he was like an old man that was asking, like, what kind of beers you got? Which, valid question because you can't see them there. You have to, because you can't see what kind of one. Actually, no, I'm actually going to defend him now. If you want a specific beer and we don't have a menu to look at, you can ask what type of beer we got because all you got to do is open up the door. Those are your beers. But if you're going to be going and trying to get a spirit, some type of cocktail. This is my mantra for this podcast. When you come to Vegas, you gotta have 3 go-to cocktails, 2 cocktails, 1 beer. That is your job. When you come to Vegas, you got 3 go-tos. A beer that you know everyone's gonna have, a 2-ingredient cocktail, something that's going to take, it's going to be quick, especially if you're going to like a nightclub or a bar or a high-energy lounge like this. Rum and Coke. Bang. I could do rum and Coke fast, quick. Then you got your actual signature cocktail, your old fashions, your martinis, your Negronis, stuff that does involve like garnish, different ingredients mixed in. You got a little bit of time. That's how you do it. So sometimes it's for your convenience, so, figuring out if someone knows if they know what they're doing. And also the other way is like for speed. Sometimes you can't always order an old-fashioned at a busy bar. Honestly, old-fashions are not that hard to make, especially at fast bars like that, because they don't actually crush up sugar. So it's basically just, simple syrup, which they usually have. So some type of simple syrup. Then we got Angostura bitters. Then you got the ice, the whiskey. Boom, you're done. Garnish. I could honestly order that in most places, but even that is actually a lot for a speed bar. So that's why I always have Crown and Coke like in the back pocket. A lot of places I've been going don't have Crown, so I got to go Makers and Coke. Be nimble. Be flexible. Brian, give an example. So these two women walk up to the bar, and they say, do you have a drink menu? They say, no, we don't have a drink menu. Big event, like we don't have menus. And then literally they're like, come back to us. Give us a second. So then they start having to have this whole conversation, which they didn't have a conversation about the actual cocktails they wanted to drink. So then they start talking, and I'm kind of hearing from afar. And then we get into we're trying to figure this out. What kind of this do you have? What kind of that do you have? And then we land on, okay, we'll have a Cosmo. And because one had a Cosmo, the other one had to have a Cosmo. Why? Because that's just the way that works. Because it was too hard to pick up your own cocktail. Cosmo, completely fine drink. I don't like how long it took for them to get there. Have your drink ready to go off the cuff. If I walked up to the bar and they said, hey, what would you like? And I was like, oh, can I see the menu? We don't have a menu. Oh, let me get a Crown and Coke. That's as fast as you got to go. Let me get an old fashioned. Bang. You're ready to go with your two signature cocktails. If they don't have either of those things, you got a beer ready to go. Because they're going to have beer. That's the way that it works. And you would think, oh, this is one person or one point in time. No. I was standing there, and another group of women comes up, group of 3 women, walk up. They say, do you have a drink menu? And they say no. And also, it's gotten busier at this point. So now they have to figure it out. One gets one got a Prosecco, which they didn't have Prosecco. They had some other version. And then one got I think one also got another type of wine. I think it was maybe a Pinot Noir. I can't remember, but it was another wine basically. Sauvignon Blanc. That's what they ended up getting. And then another woman said, let me get back to you. So then the woman comes back, and I love this. This is my favorite shit. So these bartenders didn't take shit from nobody. One, you could tell, speed, not really worrying about it. The other one was a woman, really badass. She had kind of she had a shaved head. And I think I really give credit to women who have shaved heads, because you got to have the right head shape. So good head shape, good bone structure, really pulled off the bald look. She had a tat on her arm. By the way, both bartenders had the signature quarter sleeve or full sleeve as a bartender. Sleeves rolled up, signature bartender look in Vegas. Also, she had gigantic boobs that were basically in a vest being held together. So that really probably put the whole look together, I guess. But anyways, what I want to get about this is that she didn't give a shit. So it's just the way that it kind of works in places. Women get away with a lot of stuff with male bartenders, but male Vegas bartenders kind of don't give a shit either. But when they walk up against a female bartender and there's a lot of drinks coming in, the bartender doesn't care. It's you got to get your drink ready or not. I'm moving. So finally she sees the Cosmos go to the other women. That's how actually close together this sequence happened, is that one was being served and the other one saw that drink. So as they were serving the Cosmos, they said, oh, what are those over there? And then he says, these are Cosmos. And she said, I'll have one of those. That's all we got. We can't be more original. Come on, baby, as my dad would say. Just got to be a little bit more imaginative. Got to be a little bit more imaginative. It's absolutely, it's crazy. It's crazy. Also, it did feel really good. Honestly, guys, I know not bars are not everybody's forte, but I have to say, when I feel from going to so many bars and I've gotten more into wine, which is making me even more insufferable, is I feel kind of at home. Really feel good at any bar, specifically cocktail bars, because then I can sort of dole out like recommendations, especially if you got the menu in front of you. I can say, oh, between these two, I would do this one. It's just the natural concierge in me. So when he comes up, I was like, let me get an old fashioned. Let me get a Godfather. And I started kind of explaining what it was, which bartenders do hate that when I said, it's Disaronno. He says, yeah, Disaronno and Scotch. I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. Just anything but black Black Label. We're good to go. And then boom, we're in action. 2 ingredients, bang, bang. Monkey shoulder, really good, gotta say. Also, I always go back to this, and I think I've said this on this podcast before, and it's like kind of silly to live your life through movies, but I do. And there's a scene in the movie The Godfather where, and it's not that serious, where Marlon Brando's character says, women and children can be careless, but never men. Which I equate to the situation of just understanding what's going on in your surroundings. So these 3 women that I was standing next to, they see that the bar is getting busy. So basically the bar went from having, like, I want to say like 10 people in it, like kind of scattered, up to having like probably like, I don't know, 150 people inside of this bar. Let's say 100 to be, conservative, but it's busy. You could feel it getting busier. And then like the band like gets on the stage, and then there's a guy singing or a guy who's actually talking. He actually gets up like off of the stage in the middle of the room on like a table basically, and is kind of interacting with the crowd. And these ladies start saying, "Oh, like I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I'm into that." And I'm like, "Well, it's like a performance. Like the guy's wearing a magenta suit with sunglasses on." Ooh, I have to think about sunglasses later. This guy's talking. And then he starts talking, basically saying that Mark Anthony's going to be coming into the lounge. And then as Mark Anthony kind of comes into like the main entrance, and he kind of makes a hard left, like to go to like the private room, women start screaming because, it's after his show. It's really like a hot atmosphere. People are like, "Oh my God, Mark Anthony," yelling as women, as people do. And she turns to me, this lady who's probably from like, I don't know, Laguna Beach or something. Shout out Laguna Beach. She turns to me and says, "Oh, what's going on? Is it like a celebrity or something?" And then I have to tell her, "Yeah, it's Mark Anthony." They're like, "Oh, I had no idea." "You had no idea? There's a big giant sign in the front of the entrance of this lounge that says Mark Anthony After Hours." Jesus! Be more aware. By the way, as the singer started performing, like the conversation that these ladies were having after about half of that Prosecco got much louder. So, needless to say, I listen to everybody's conversations. Just if you end up coming to Vegas and I talk about you, this is what's going to happen. We may judge. Do I ever judge people who are doing things correctly? Obviously, no, I don't. Actually, I will tell people, men or women, usually it comes to women, because you never know, is because when they come up and they'll say, "Let me get a dry martini," or "Let me get a Manhattan or a Negroni," or any type of classic cocktail, I'll say that's a serious drink. I like that. That's cool. I appreciate it. I applaud it. I'm cool with that. If you order an espresso martini, you do not get an attaboy, because it's basic as shit. Are old fashions basic? Yeah, but they're basic and they're classic. There's a difference. They're classic. So that's why they're better. So with that being said, those are my observations from my night out at Nowhere Lounge. Sometimes you got to mix it up. I know I go to Delilah's a lot. They actually have like part of the bar closed because they're doing something with it. But the inside skinny is that they're actually figuring out the plumbing for the rest of the hotel, and that particular pipe runs right through the bar over at Delilah. So that was my observation from Nowhere Lounge. Nowhere Lounge, great. I think Nowhere Lounge is great on like a regular night. On Mark Anthony nights, you gotta like his music. And they were kind of warming up when I actually like kind of left. I got 2 songs in and I was like, I'm ready to go home. And I left. But Nowhere Lounge is actually really, really fun. It's a great place to sort of like impress a girl. You got to kind of plan it out because you got to make a reservation. But just keep that in mind. So let's get into actually what I wanted to talk about, which is casino etiquette. Let's talk about it. So it's your first time to Vegas, or you haven't been here in a while. How do things work? So basically, the casino is laid out in front of you. How do we attack? First thing you do, it all starts at home. You should definitely take money out of your account when you are at home, because we are a cash business, baby. We are the opposite of California. Mom, shout out to my mom who gets that joke. We take cash essentially everywhere. Yes, there are some outlets like Starbucks and stuff that may not take cash, but most places in Vegas will always take cash, and we will always take big bills. Like when you go to McDonald's and they say, oh, like nothing over a 20, we say we take everything. Although our McDonald's also don't take anything more than a 20. But you get what I'm saying. So take your money out at home, the money you're expecting to play with and probably use like for dinner. Maybe not for dinner, but like use to gamble. Maybe some tip money, so you can break down a 20 to or break down a 10. Oh my goodness, break down 100 to a couple 20s, 5s, 10s, singles, so you can tip, valet parkers and that kind of thing. So bring cash with you because cash is king here for sure. Also bring your credit card and also bring your ID. This will start here. When you come down to the casino, when you go anywhere in this town, I understand you are 50 years old. I get it. Most places you don't get ID'd. In Vegas, we will ID you. There are actually places, lounges, nightclubs, bars that will check your ID. Casinos will check your ID regardless of your age. Regardless of how you look, they will take your ID. Great example of this is Circa. So if you go to Circa on Fremont Street, they do check every single person's ID that walks in. Yes, if you're a 70-year-old person, they will check your ID. It's not so much to validate that you're 21 years old. It's more so they want to know who's walking to the casino. And it is also because they operate as a 21 and over only property. They don't have to check your ID when you go get stuff at any of the bars. So really, there's a reason for that. But also, a lot of our lounges are required to do that. It is part of having a liquor license for a lot of those venues, nightclubs and lounges. It could be the Pinky Ring or any lounge that requires like entry that you have to go through security. They will be checking your ID. So please, bring your ID. Ladies, we're coming back at you. And I'm sorry that we're kind of coming at you a lot on this particular episode, but you guys are kind of the ones that I see the problems with. I get it. You're changing out of all of your purses. It looks great. You may not have your ID on you because you're wearing a dress or whatever. No pockets. I get it. It's problems. Bring your ID. Driver's license is fine. Identification card, cool. Passport, also fine. Although I don't always trust people that have passports like all the time, but I get like if you're from, I don't know, New York City, where you guys don't drive cars, that you have a passport just so you can get on airplanes, fine. Bring your passport. Be difficult. But bring your ID. Some type of identification. Please. I've seen it so many times where people walk up to the stand and they say, oh, I left my ID in the room. Bring your ID. Those of you from out of the country, bring your passports, please. I know it is very nerve-wracking to take your passport anywhere, especially if you're trying to get back home. But you have to bring an official identification, especially to the tables. Casino tables, they will ID you for sure. So that's number one. Gotta have your ID. Gotta have your ID, and you gotta bring cash money. Bring cash money because you need cash money to gamble at any of the tables. You definitely need cash money if you're playing at blackjack, craps, roulette, whatever. Same thing with slots. We haven't figured out how to get money out of your debit card yet directly to the machine, so we're still working on that. Also, for those of you that are curious, you can go to the cashier's cage and they will give you cash. They can exchange cash if you want. They also work sort of like a bank teller, essentially. And of course, there's ATM strewn all across the casino floor. So when you walk up to the tables, how do you know if you can sit down? If it's an empty seat. If you see a seat that is empty that doesn't have money in front of it, feel free to sit down. Same thing with slot machines. My mom is very basically a professional slot player at this point. When she walks up to a machine and she really wants to play it and someone's sitting in that seat, she will say, are you playing this machine? If the person says yes, then my mom will follow up by saying, if they don't have money in the machine, they'll say, well, there's no money in the machine. And then they put money in the machine or they walk away. Or my mom gets in a fight. My mom hasn't gotten in a fight yet, so that's great. But slot machines are made for playing not for taking a rest. I apologize. If you want to rest, it's going to cost you something. With that being said, you can sit down at a lot of slot machines that nobody's playing at, and you'll be completely fine. So they do take cash. It's very, very important. Also, once you get to the table and once you sit down, drop the money on the table. You're never going to hand anything to the dealer. Nothing is more I'm a first timer looking than handing cash money to a dealer in their hand, because they will not actually take it. They will ask you to play it on the table because it is for the cameras upstairs. So there's no funny business going on. So then we lay it out, we count it, and you're good to go. Brings me to the next point. If you're going to be watching a game, which is completely fine, I'm totally okay with people watching games. If anybody has a problem with you watching a casino game like blackjack, roulette, craps, then they are the problem. You are definitely within your right to watch the game. Completely fine. But please, if you are not actually playing the game itself, and this is specific for roulette and for craps, which are sort of like group games, please don't stand right on the pad of the table. So what does this mean? So I was actually walking through Fontainebleau the same day, and it was like kind of like a busy looking table. Like, you had one guy shooting the dice, and you had another person on one side and then two other people on the other side. And then you had like these group of like 4 girls that were standing on the railing, which if I was playing, I wouldn't give a shit because I found my spot and there's pretty girls at the table. But they were basically standing around the edge of the table, taking up 4 very valuable spots, essentially. And I was just kind of watching the game. And then I finally kind of like looked at the table to see if they had money in front of them, and they did not. So basically, if anybody really wanted to play, they weren't able to because these women were taking up this particular spot. So if you're going to watch, be respectful of the space. I would say the corners are good. So like the corners, like away from, the dealers essentially. And you could watch the game. Give it like a person buffer between you and the table, because that says that the table is open for everybody else to come in and play if they wanted to. When you're standing right on the ledge, that actually blocks off us going up to that part of the table. Because then we have to be the asshole that says, "Oh, are you guys playing?" And then you're going to very quickly say, "Oh no, we're not playing." So don't stand right on the table. And same thing goes for roulette, because that is very valuable real estate that we are not able to get to if we are trying to actually gamble on the game. So that's another one. If you are actually going to be going and playing and you want free cocktails, the cocktails, they are free. I always tell people to judge the place you are in. So I always say the nicer the chandelier, the more expensive the drinks are. Or the nicer the chandelier, the more expensive the tables are. It all kind of works the same. That also goes to the free cocktails that you get when you're playing in a casino. A good etiquette would be $1 a drink is what you'd want to tip the cocktail waitress. You can obviously tip more if you want. This is quite a discussion point for lots of people who live in Vegas. Like, how much do you tip certain people? People say, "Oh, and because of inflation, you should tip the cocktail waitress, $8." No. That is not what that is for. The reason you are getting a free cocktail is because you are spending $200, $300, $400 at a table, and that is convenience for you and for them, so you don't leave the table, is to get a free cocktail. $1 a drink is fine. $2 is better. $5 if she's really cute. It's kind of the way that the pendulum swings. And again, you're going to be getting multiple drinks. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want. And again, tipping is totally up to you. But you got to tip something. Okay? And your phone number does not count. Okay? Got to be cash money. Yes, you can tip with chips. That is always another question that I always get when I do my blackjack and craps class is how can you tip them? And we will take cash. But they also take chips, which is a much easier form of doing it. Which is another reason to keep the small chips around. Don't just throw them away. So $1 a drink is good. If you're playing in a casino, if you're playing with dealers, $5 a session is good. If you play for 20 minutes, give them $5, you're completely fine. If you ever want to be like, feel like a regular, tipping is the fastest way to everybody's heart. Like if you want to feel like, Robert De Niro in Casino, if you tip, we take care of you. It's the way that it works. We remember your name. We're a little bit more attentive. Make sure you got your bets down. Oh, you're Mr. O. That's how they remember you. Have I ever been called Mr. O? I've never been called that. I don't think I'm old enough yet. They'll say, let's go, Brian. That's basically what I get. My favorite one, and I'm sorry, this next part we're going to cuss a little bit. I was playing at Fontainebleau long time ago before I worked there, and we needed to hit like the number 11, and we would have hit like the big giant bet up top. So it was like the all, which paid like, I don't know, 360 to 1. And I already had hit the all small, which paid 150 to 1. And then if I hit the 11, then I get the all tall, all tall, all. It's a gigantic payout. And I had a tip for all of the dealers up there as well. So it was going to be like, I don't know, $300 tip. So we're throwing the dice, and we're doing pretty good. And we need to hit the 11. A guy walks up, rando, end of the table, puts money on the don't pass. Asshole. That is asshole move. Don't be that person in the middle of the game. It's like bad luck, like just like walks up to the table. And then we're throwing the dice. So through the dice, whatever number, everybody kind of like mood shifts when that guy walks in. But we're still high because we're hitting numbers. So then they slide the dice back to me, puts the stick, stands the stick up and leans over to me and says, let's hit this motherfucker. And I was like, we're all together, baby. We are all together. So if you ever want to know how you become Robert De Niro from Casino, you don't got to tip $1 million. Just tip very frequently. You got 5 here, boom, dollar. Here's for the casino. Here's for the boys. Drop it down like you don't care. Drop it down like that $5 doesn't even matter to you. Because if you just do it that way, and you don't gotta be a mean about it. Just be like, hey, for the crew. Just cool, like kind of in passing. That's expected. $5, bang. And they'll treat you so much nicer. That's just the law of anything in the service industry. It just happens more in casinos. And people always ask me, how do I become a regular? Like, how do I, get treated that way? You got to act that way. You got to act that way, but don't be an asshole. It's very important. That's actually a really good tip in terms of etiquette. Don't be an asshole. Because if you're nice and generous, like, oh, thank you. Like, I didn't know that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. That's cool, man. We're going to help you out. But I was at the Cosmopolitan long time ago. This had to be, 12 years ago. It was one of the guys who does investments on like MSNBC. Can't remember his name. Had a TV show for a while. And they would slide him the dice. I wasn't playing at this table. They would slide him the dice. He'd throw them. Then they'd kind of like set up the bets. They could pay stuff out. They'd slide him the dice again. And like then they slid him the dice like the third time, and then he threw the dice, and like he wasn't happy with how slow that it was going, which they were going sort of normal speed. And he says, "Give me the dice. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll. Give me the dice." And the stickman had to stop them and say, "We're getting to it. We want to pay you out. We got to pay people out first." So if you're an asshole, not cool, but if you're going to be, then have the money to back it up. I mean, we have players who play who are from Fontainebleau. These players are big players, so they're probably betting in the range of per hand, probably between $100,000 and $50,000 a hand. So, yeah, they can kind of be that way. We have a guy who's pretty straightforward with what things he wants. He'll tell us to get out of the salons, like, if he's having a bad run. But, this sucks, but pays for the privilege. It's kind of the way that it works. So that's another etiquette thing. No sunglasses. Oh, my goodness. Also, not allowed to wear sunglasses in casinos, especially if you're gambling specifically. They will tell you to take your sunglasses off. I saw a guy wearing sunglasses inside of the Nowhere Lounge, and I was like, dude, you're not Mark Anthony. You're just some old tata. Like, that's all you are. Stop it. But no, so I saw that. But yeah, they will tell you to take your glasses off. Don't put them on the table. Also, you can't have your phone out while you're gambling. Just because if you're actually playing blackjack, you can keep track on your phone of the cards that come out. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you. Also, if you have your strategy card on your phone, that is not allowed. Has to be a physical card. Also, can't put your phone on the table either. Don't spill your drink on the felt. I've done that. I was at the Link one time, and I was drinking like this big giant like Whataburger like sized cup, and I like pushed it over, and it spilled all over the felt, and we left obviously, and I felt so bad. I was terrible. don't do it. Did we hit any other like tips that we can do? So walking through, bring money with you. When you are getting free cocktails, it is customary that if you are with a girlfriend or a partner or whatever you want to call them, that they get a drink too. So don't be afraid for your partner to ask for a drink as well. Just remember, if you get a drink and they get a drink, that is a $2 drink that you are paying for because it's a $2 tip to the cocktail waitress. And it goes on and on and on. Can I think of any other tips that I wanted to share with you guys that I kind of thought as we were sort of playing? Nope. I think that's it. That's it for today. We've talked long enough. So really appreciate you guys coming and listening to the podcast. I know that we're kind of doing 1, maybe 2 episodes a week. It's kind of like playing it by ear. Just kind of depends on like how life kind of comes at you. But as we kind of go out and experience a couple different things, we'll go ahead and share them when we come back. So again, thank you so much everybody for listening to the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. Hopefully you're staying cool wherever you are. And if you do want to see kind of what's going on in town, Conscious Confidential _LV is where you'll find our Instagram, as well as Brian _Ortega26. If you want to see what I'm doing on the movie front, just watch The Odyssey. It's sick. I even actually arranged a car for somebody to go watch the movie The Odyssey, which is always kind of fun for my little heart. So again, thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate it. When you come out to Vegas, come up and say hello if you see me out in one of the bars. But remember, keep it confidential.